Welcome, everyone, to our Lansing Catholic Podcast. I'm Father Joe, the chaplain here.
And I'm Mr. Stolpa, Dean of Intellectual Formation.
And we have a very special guest.
Well,
chaplain.
sort of, Father. We're the guests. We're on the road.
We actually took the show on the road.
They're taking over my office as we speak, but that's all right.
The
Welcome
dulcet
aboard.
tones that you hear right now.
It's Father Gordon Reigle, everyone. Welcome
Former
to the
chaplain.
show.
Very good. Hey, thank you, gentlemen, for coming by. This is an honor.
Yeah, we had a suggestion on we have a little form people can fill out if they want to suggest things, and it said, why not do something with the chaplain? So I was like, well, Father Gordon's right down the road.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd probably be up for it, so thanks for taking the time.
It is good to be in the neighborhood. It used to happen similarly with Faith Catholic being in the same space as Lansing Catholic because sometimes they needed a photo. So if you see my mug in some of the Faith Catholic promotions, it's because literally I'm the priest.
They just
within
needed
100
a pretty
yards.
face.
We need a priest to hold this,
Just the
hold
closest
this
one.
homiletic notebook, and smile. And so yes,
The token religious guy.
exactly.
Does that make you officially a priest model?
Wouldn't that be sad and pathetic? I really have a face for radio.
Oh, we
That's
made
exactly
that joke
what
too.
he says.
They're trying to convince us to do a video podcast, and I said nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. There's no demographic.
And
that
they
wants
say that they want to put the face with the name and the voice, and I like just everyone to picture, George Clooney out
Just
there.
imagine
I'm an
for
international
themselves.
man of mystery.
Yes.
Yes.
No, you'd really want to. I always think, you want the. Can I have the image of like Antonio Banderas?
Right.
And then, but yeah,
With
nobody
like the
wants
lip
to see this.
moving like in the old Conan ones.
Exactly. A little bit of dubbing, just a touch, just a touch of dubbing. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we usually start with an update about things going on for the week. It's 5-day
started.
week.
This is our first 5-day week.
Yeah, so everyone
The
buckle up
fourth
for
week
a
of
full
school, we get a
week.
5. Yeah, we're gonna be exhausted by Wednesday.
We do have St. Gerard staff coming in the building on Thursday. They're going to be doing some confirmation interviews. So if you see any of the St. Gerard folks around, be sure to say hello.
Will those interviews be on the podcast?
No.
Okay.
No, they won't.
That would
But
be
maybe
delightful and awkward.
while we have some of them
Tell
in
us,
the building,
Jimmy, why do you want to be confirmed?
while we have them in the building, maybe we could interview one of them. They could be on the podcast.
They'd love that.
I haven't even thought about that.
We should pre-screen them though. We don't want any of the non-talkers.
Okay. What else is going on? Anything else?
We talked about this before in the Shaluia about these Mondays where our kids are going to sit with our Rajinga mentors and work with them one-on-one, go over their grades, go over their what's going on in their lives. So the first one is this Monday.
All right, great. Also, the Lions will have played their first game of the season by the
The
time
Detroit
this episode
Lions,
drops.
Father?
Yes. So any predictions? You think they're going to win? I don't even know who they're playing.
They play the Rams.
The Rams. Oh, so that'll be against Stafford, right?
Sure.
Oh, boy. Well,
That'll
we'll
be
have to
fun.
wait and see
That'll
what
be fun.
happens.
Yeah.
Best of luck
Will you
to
be
the
watching
Lions.
the game, Father?
I am going to watch the game, yes.
Do you have a TV in your rectory?
Yes, we do. We've got cable. We can watch the sports ball and all that whenever we feel like it. I'm like hockey. That's
I want to come
my-
over to their rectory.
Do you not have a TV?
I don't
at
pay
yours?
for cable.
Well, there's like the fraternity.
Frugalness. We don't pay for cable. We don't do that.
You just steal it.
You can come by anytime you want, Father Gordon.
That seems like an invite. You have to bring some spinach dip, though.
Oh, I
to
was
watch
just going
the
to bring
game.
popcorn, but okay.
So,
Spinach dip.
Stilpa, you were telling me that over the weekend you went to a trampoline park.
We did. Yeah, it was
What
my
was that
daughter
like?
Carly's 7th birthday, and we went to that new Fun City in Lansing. That's Fun City, where all your dreams come true.
Is that their tagline?
Probably.
Did we come up with that for them? That is our side gig.
That's that's the one I thought of
It's
right
hard
now.
to get
so.
advertising these days.
Well, we got St. Martha's. We got a shirt from them. I'm waiting on like Callaway and some TrackMan stuff so we can set up a golf simulator. That's my ultimate dream, is that one of these big time companies just sends me a golf simulator and that we have our podcast. Because really my next idea, we come to visit you, and I think we want to visit some more chaplains, but on the golf course. And we just play, 18 holes.
You do
while
a couple holes with Father Riley over there. It would
Yep.
be awesome.
Yep. And
Yeah.
we
Father
it'll be
Riley.
like Cougar Chat on the greens, and we'll just theologize the whole time.
Oh, I think it'd be. There's lessons in golf.
Yes.
So I went to a trampoline park a couple of years ago with some of my nieces and nephews. First time I'd ever been there. And it was pretty fun. There were lots of kids, so I felt kind of out of place as an adult, as you might expect.
Were you wearing your collar?
I did not wear my.
Well, when you
my
don't have kids
clerics
of your
there.
own, that's the no.
I mean, I
Which
brought
one of
my
these is
nieces
not
and
like the
nephews.
other?
No,
so-
you didn't just show up at some kid's
No,
party.
I didn't just
no.
show up on my own. I at
Bad
least
idea.
had kids
Hey, I'm
with
going to
me
Chuck
that
E.
were-
Cheese today. I'm going to go play some skee ball.
So one of these stations, it was sort of a, you call it like a trapeze pole, like a pole on ropes, right? And you can swing out on it like they do in the circus. And it was over a foam ball pit, so you could let go and drop into that. And it was like this long line of kids, and I'm up there, and I'm like, get out of the way, kids, it's my turn. So eventually I got up to the front of the line, and I used to do this kind of thing all the time when I was a kid. So sometimes I forget that I'm not 12 years old anymore.
Did you push a kid into the pit?
No, I didn't push, but I like pushed myself out as hard as I could to like get the biggest swing possible. And so I swing out there and I'm hanging on with my hands and my whole body like goes way out. So my legs are basically up above my shoulders now.
Oh, you're about to do a flip.
And then I slipped off. This was not on purpose. I wasn't trying to. So I slid off. And then I went head first into the foam ball pit and got stuck. So my legs are
So your legs are
up.
sticking up?
Yes, and it took me like
Kicking around?
It took
when
me
you're-
like 30 seconds to get out of there because it's hard to get yourself untangled. You're like head first in 8 feet of foam balls, and my brother saw the whole thing. And by the time I
that's
came
on
out,
video.
he was like on the ground.
This is where we
laughing.
should have the video podcast.
Oh, I
'cause then
didn't-
we could reenact it.
I did not get video of this this wonderful event, but my brother witnessed the whole thing. So
Trying a little too hard.
yes,
Could he tell a story? Could he corroborate this whole story?
he
and then
could
tell the real
corroborate it.
version,
Maybe
which
we'd
is
have to
probably
bring him
way
on one of
worse?
these days.
Yeah. We were playing as one of these on Sunday, or we were there, and they have like the arcade, right? And so they were playing the skee ball. My oldest daughter was playing the skee ball, and she rolled and she did decent, but she got 9,000 tickets from them.
Which is worth $3.
It's not. She got a neon sign for 5,000, and we still had 4,000 tickets left. So like this is the standard issue of tickets, and she's sitting there with 9,000 tickets. I've never seen that in my entire life. She almost got a Casio keyboard,
Wow,
which was 10,100. So
that's high end. How many
Missed it
kids
by
can say
that
they got their
much.
own keyboard
well,
from the arcade?
I think it's still zero because no one ever gets that many. But I'm pretty sure she's now the world record holder for tickets won on one game of skee ball.
Wow.
Oh,
So
wow.
Guinness, if you're listening, either one of you, send us something. It could be the other Guinness or that Guinness.
All
Any
right,
of the
Father
Guinnesses.
Gordon, let's go to our interview segment of the podcast. So this
That was
is
a
where we
smooth
ask you
transition, Father.
questions and you tell us whatever you want to say. So
Oh.
I'm the current chaplain at Lansing Catholic. Before me was Father Paul Erickson. Before him was you.
Before me was Father Joe Crawford.
Father Joe Krupp.
10 years.
Yeah. So what years were you the chaplain?
2009 to 2015.
All right, so 6 years.
Is that standard for chaplains to be there for about 6 years?
Well, Father Joe was 10 years
Oh.
before me. So perhaps with my 6 years, that's become a little bit more regular.
Okay.
And a lot of times you want to find the right fit. It depends who's graduating, who's bumping up. It's not maybe something you want to do for your first assignment, but
No.
it's a perfect for your second assignment as an
Right.
associate. So it depends each year who you've got. So sometimes you want to move somebody on when you know you've got a good replacement. So if they're really on their game, the diocese wants to kind of think ahead and, you know, the special positions that you want to turn over, vocation director, the high school chaplains, some of the tribunal things. You always want to be thinking who's the replacement coming up and what's a good year to move them on, so that you don't gap.
Yep.
You know,
Was it
Time.
your first assignment or was it
No,
your second?
second assignment.
Okay.
And one of your big projects that you took on there was having that beautiful chapel built, which I'm very grateful for. We have a very nice chapel. What was that whole project like? Give us the little overview of getting that
well,
done.
there are a lot of things, and credit to Tom Maloney, credit to so much of the admin staff. They had all sorts of renovations in mind at the time, and one of the beautiful things that Tom did was he really made sure that we went faith first. I mean, yes, we were looking to redo the auditorium. Yes, we were looking to redo the fields. We're redoing to a number of things that needed it badly. But Tom really pressed to make sure. And I'm sure he had to fight for this in a lot of ways because a lot of people probably would want to do the sports fields first. And he says, no, we're going to do the chapel and we're going to make that a priority. So that fell in my years. which was a delightful privilege that we could look at that. And, it went through how many iterations in those things, from just being sort of your multi-purpose space to becoming a beautiful space that you could use. In my time, we used 3 different spaces for Mass. So you had the original chapel at the center of the building, which only sat 60 students at best. So you could have a class Mass in there, or the football team on a Friday night. If you're going to have Masses for the grade levels, that would be in the auditorium before we renovated the auditorium. So the auditorium had more seats than it does now, but it was old. And it really was kind of a rough space. And then you had the gym. If you had an all-school Mass with parents and the whole community there, you had to take over the gym. So we had 3 different spaces. And the thing that became woefully apparent is that students treat a space according to what it looks like. If it looks like an auditorium, it's an auditorium. And it doesn't matter if you have the tabernacle there. It doesn't matter if you set up an altar. It doesn't matter. You're going to treat an auditorium like you're going to treat an auditorium. You're going to treat a gymnasium like a gymnasium. And the thing we really settled on and pushed for was, this chapel has to be sacred space. You don't want the gym-a-chapatorium. You don't want the multi-purpose space with the movable chairs, and you can set up basketball hoops at the weekends when you need an extra practice space. This has to be sacred space. So that when you come in, you know that this is different. You want the space that induces you to kneel, right? It just gives that sense of God is in the space, and it's time to spit out the gum, which I shouldn't have been chewing in the first place, and it's time to really encounter the living God. And so it was a real privilege to work up that vision and the design documents behind that, and again, work with the architects and work with the diocese, and really come up with a space that would be unique.
Yeah. And I love that the chapel certainly does stand out in terms of all the spaces in the building. There's something very special about that one. As soon as you walk in, it feels different. It looks different. And it's clear that vision you had certainly paid off, because I think it makes an impact on the kids as soon as they walk in.
Yeah, and when we give tours like of the chapel, the very specific thing they say is everything here was chosen for a reason. So when you look at the stained glass and the saints that were chosen, how did you come upon which saints to include and then which artists to go with?
Oh, no, that's a good point. Even the stained glass, you're right. The selection of the artists for the icons, for the windows, all those had their own little process to it. I started obviously with the design of the chapel. You got to go Romanesque. We're Roman Catholic. And something about the neoclassical designs, everything has a reason to that architecture, right? Nothing's random. As you're looking at Generation Z, and now you're coming up on Generation Alpha, is coming up. Anyways, if you're 14 or under, you're alpha. So you're going to be taking on the alphas in this freshman
year. I don't know what we should call them that. There's not a lot of alphas in the freshman class, I'll tell you that. So.
but there is the next wave coming. But, you're looking at this generation of youth in general, and everything is up for grabs. What's your gender? What's the meaning of truth? What's the meaning of... All that is up for grabs, seemingly, at least, from the TikTok perspective. So they're looking for that which is timeless and transcendent and eternal. They want something which matters, something which is true and good and holy. So we really started with you've got to have an architecture which conveys timeless and eternal and transcendent truth. It's grounded, it's strong. You want the pillars of the earth. You want something which shows forth the structure, that it is built, it is stable, it is solid. Oh, sure, the walls of the chapel are poured concrete. They're a foot thick. But you still want the colonnades, even if that is an artistic ornament. You got to see the solidity of the thing, because our faith is built on solid rock, right? It's built on Christ, is built on the rock of Peter. So you got to show that. So we started with that. And then you're right. Then you got to fill in. I intentionally pushed for a design that gave us the right number of windows that you wanted, because I wanted to be able to go through and convey a number of saints. And in my original design, to be more authentic to Roman esque design, you should have clear story windows, little portals of the heaven, right? Those little circular portals above. That got nixed. Again, you're going through committees, you're going through designs, you're going through iterations, and we're also budgeting this thing and squeaking by. So that all got nixed from on high. So, okay, redesign. So how do I incorporate the saints the earthly with the heavenly. And I wanted to show the angels too. So I gave the 9 choirs of angels. If you think about those north windows, the 9 choirs of angels, I integrated into, again, a round Romanesque window, and took the arch, made it circular. Those are the portals. Those are really the clear story windows are integrated into it. I did a whole design doc on that. And then, you're trying to say, if you've got 9 choirs of angels and each of them is mediating various attributes of the divine, right? The seraphim mediate God's love, the cherubim mediate God's knowledge. Each rank of angels mediates to lower echelons of creation, the various attributes of God. Well, the same thing. Think of your 9 choirs of saints. That was what I was trying to think about. I mean, in all their diversity, national, old, young, all the different life forms of consecration or laity. You're consecrated. You want your holy men, your holy women. You want your apostles. You want your evangelists. You want your teachers. You want your martyrs. And then try to divert. I went through a number of iterations to try to get it. Let's face it. And of course, knew that I had a couple extra windows left over. I knew I wanted a Holy Spirit window in the back, like the Vatican. You wanted to have that, like it is in the apse of St. Peter's, flowing down on the Blessed Mother window below, because of course we're a Marian diocese. We're dedicated to the Immaculate Conception from our inception in 1937. And so I knew, there are certain other windows that you had to have. The front windows by the sanctuary are the sacraments and the Trinity and the apse. So I worked this a number of ways, but trying to at least show the students. I wanted, wherever they looked, right? Knowing that, again, in our youth and exuberance, sometimes we're a little ADHD, and sometimes even in church, we're looking at everything. But the goal is, it's not just that the excitement is in the front. Yes, of course, here's the tabernacle. This is, the true presence of Christ. But wherever you look, you're going to learn something about the faith. You're going to learn something about the saints. You're going to learn something about where heaven meets earth, because that's the whole point of the liturgy, is heaven meets earth. And so all of that should be imbued in art and architecture all the way around the space. And that was the goal. And I think with the right selection, and we went with the artist who did the windows at St. Martha's, Okemos, and that's really where we had we looked at a number of artists, but I was very grateful that at the end we went with that same architecture, because you want to be able to portray the saints with a certain amount of realism, and that makes all the difference in the world. You don't want it to be so abstract that they're unrelatable.
Right. And one of my favorite things to do with the new students is the freshmen. I'll bring them down and we do our chapel appreciation day, where we kind of go through a lot of the symbolism, a lot of the thought that went into the art and the architecture. And it's great that we have a nice chapel, because some places you don't have much to go off of in that regard. But there is a lot,
certainly.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful symbolism, and there's a lot of that richness in our tradition. And if you go to other churches in Europe and in Detroit, you'll find it there, and then it's cool to learn about it right here in your own high school chapel.
It is, and to have that desire for, I'll just say from my own personal experience, I'll throw myself under the bus. Yes, I was the high school know-it-all. Surprise. I know, earth-shattering revelation.
You mean when you were in high school?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm the know-it-all kid. But what I found about my own church experience is I looked at this, the wonder at the statues, and that not everything was in English. Oh, this saying is in Latin. I wonder what that means. The things of mystery which perplexed me were the things that made me excited about my faith and made me want to. And I remember as far back as being a 10-year-old in 4th grade, Queen of the Miraculous Medal Elementary School in Jackson, and looking at this beautiful church, Queen's Church, right? And all that the Vincentians had done. They designed it in 1941. And I'm looking at this and thinking, boy, I want to learn about this. I wonder, where's the school I have to go to learn? I didn't know even the term for seminary. Like, where do you go to learn this? So the goal, I was trying to bring that to the chapel, that although, sure, we read the scriptures in English, I wanted the icons to be in Greek, because icons are Eastern, and the faith is, the New Testament is going to be written,
and the Gospels were written in Greek.
The Gospels are in Greek, right? All the New Testament,
and even
is in
having
Greek.
some mystery, like you said, it can inspire that wonder in the heart. That's exactly what I said at our first all school mass. I said, we're going to do a bunch of stuff up here that for some of you this might be your first time at a Catholic mass, it's okay if you don't understand everything. God is infinitely
Mystery.
beyond us.
Yes.
We'll never fully understand God. And so there's sort of a design to the liturgy that it's meant to be a bit mysterious. You're meant to not fully get it. So
And
that you can always be wondering,
exciting.
oh, what's going on here? There's something bigger than me, something bigger than I'll ever be able to comprehend.
For so many decades, I think we've tried to dumb down the faith or water it down so that it's accessible, but we missed something in doing that. I think we've raised too many generations where they think it's simple, right? Oh, I learned the Ten Commandments. I'm a good Christian. That's all I need. No. You're missing it. There's so much more.
Right.
We have 2,000 years of tradition and spirituality, and if we water it all down, so much in the modern world we water down the faith to morality. Oh, I know the Ten Commandments. I'm not. No. That's only one facet of religion, right?
Yeah.
The first commandment is love the Lord your God. Well, you're loving infinite mystery, right? Even in heaven, you will not understand the depths of God's love for you. That's why eternity never gets boring. Mm-hmm. If eternity got boring, heaven would become hell in an instant. No, the whole point is mystery, and mystery is intriguing. And even the whitewashing of so many of our churches and sort of our iconoclastic artistic periods of the 60s and 70s, right? The explanation that I was often given as a kid is that, well, the medieval churches, we painted and we frescoed to portray the mysteries of the faith and the events of Scripture because people were illiterate, right? Only 5% of the populace could even read. Scripture wasn't available to them. It was too expensive. It was on vellum. You couldn't have personal copies. It was before movable print, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't need that now because we are literate. And that was the mistake. We always need an imagination. Right. How sad if our living rooms and our video game systems are more exciting than our church. What does that say? Does that say God is great? Or does that say God is trivial? And God is okay with our minimalism. God is okay with our leftovers, our table scraps, our cold leftovers. No. This is the infinite God. God is great. God must be glorified. God should be, our churches should be full of beauty and transcendence. Right. And amen.
And it completely goes against our entire, the incarnational understanding of our faith, that it's not just an intellectual exercise that you just read something and assent to it mentally. Like, that's part of it, but Jesus is also a person. He's a human being you could see and touch and interact with. And that was
the whole point of the Eucharist. It's the whole point of the smells,
and
the bells, the candles.
And that's going back to the original iconoclast controversy in the early church. That was what it really boiled down to, was the church said, no, Jesus is a human being. And therefore, God clearly wants to be revealed in a way that's tangible to us human beings through sight, taste, touch. And so therefore, it is okay to have images, to have statues and paintings and all this decoration. And I love how that touches on the reality of the human experience, that those things matter even in our advanced age, as you said, with all the technology and all the progress we've made. That stuff still speaks to people in a way that simply reading something does not.
No, you're right. You want to touch. I mean, it's great that you can touch people through literature, but that's only one facet.
Yeah.
There's so much. A picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
You want to engage all that. You want to engage the music. You want to engage. We have 2,000 years of tradition. Why would we pare that down and say, students, you only get this little bit because that's all you need? Why would we do that?
Right.
Why would we do that? No, we have so much more. Drink from the fire hose. You're not going to get it, but there's nothing worse than, and again, I saw it myself, there's nothing worse than being 17 and thinking you know it all, and that's all there is to know. Yeah. How sad if you went through all this Catholic education and at the end of the day thought you had mastered it at 17. Oh my goodness. Talk about raising arrogance, that would be a horrible thing. No, you should approach, what do we say? The beginning of all wisdom is fear, reverential fear of the Lord, right? You've only begun. We're all kids in this game, even the clergy, right? Yeah. We're all kids before the living God. There's so much we don't see, don't understand, don't know. And the way to approach it is humility. You've only begun to learn.
So I have another question for you, Father, kind of changing topics here. So you were the chaplain for 6 years, and then you went up to Flushing, right? St. Robert's. Yes. How long were you there?
3 years.
3 years.
I was in Flushing and Montrose. I had two parishes, St. Robert's, which had a parish and a school, and then I had Good Shepherd in Montrose.
And now you're here in East Lansing, back in the vicinity of the high school.
Lansing. This is my third time in Lansing. I was first working here 30 years ago for GM. And then, yes, I came in for high school chaplaincy and retreat work at Bethany House for 6 years, and lived at a couple parishes in residence there. And then, yes, this is my sort of third. I think I've spent more time in Lansing now than pretty much even Jackson growing up. Or
So
Detroit.
what is it like being in the Lansing area again and interacting with the high school, but now as an outsider in a way?
Well, it is funny because the grass is growing over me in some ways. Maybe when I first left the chaplaincy position, I could come back a year or two afterwards and take over the mic for the end of day announcements, as I would typically do, and lead the prayer. And Father Paul would hand over the mic, which was very fun. And the older students would go, "Oh my goodness, how fun!" Okay, it's Father Gordon back on the mic just for kicks. Now that would mean nothing to them,
Right.
and but it's a delight now that I'm out 10 years, almost going on 10 years. Now I'm back in the neighborhood, and students are coming to be married, and that's a rare privilege because a lot of times you get to see somebody grow up. I mean, how much you grow and develop and mature in your high school years, phenomenal. But give it another 7, 8, 9 years, what a delight. What a privilege to get to see the young men and women and how they matured. Case in point, right? When I inherited the men's group from Father Joe Krupp, right, the Warriors, right, I had a chance to do a little spiritual formation with the guys, which was wonderful, right? And we had some wonderful young men who did that. 3 of them now are entering religious life out of the space. 2 of them just took first vows this summer, the first Saturday of August.
Good for them.
Matthew Heater, who is studying for the Holy Cross Fathers, right, Notre Dame, and Aaron Kazmierski, who's studying with the CFRs. And they both took first, and I love this. Here's 2 former students, and then another one, Joe Crowley's going in, following Matt Heater, also Notre Dame grad, to study seminary for the Holy Cross congregation. So here's 3 young men of the former. I mean, this blows me away. In my time, the experience I had a chance to be with them, to get to see what amazing young men they are, and here they are exploring religious life, and we'll see where that goes. If it's the calling or not, God bless them for having the courage to discern that. I give all credit to that. So that's a beautiful thing to get to see. And what a privilege to get to see how people are developing and seeking and testing the vocation, whether it's religious life or to be single for the Lord or to explore marriage. Praise God. It's a delightful privilege to get to see a little bit of the fruits of that now almost a decade out.
What have you found in the younger people here at St. Thomas versus the 16, 17, 18-year-old Atlantic Catholic? What have you found to be the big difference in them?
Oh, that's a good point. What's interesting, especially I love about East Lansing, as Father Mack had intended, that we really serve the student populace all the way into college. What an amazing diversity from our preschool students all the way to our 8th graders in the middle school, to our students who are at Lansing Catholic, and then to see our campus ministry. What a strange and interesting parish it is that we have our own student center. That's not your usual experience. And all the clergy, we all rotate through the schedule. So, from the morning masses, which are going to be mostly the permanent community, to the very, very late, almost 9 p.m. weeknight masses that we'll have for the college students, because, of course, they're very used to staying up very late. They're just getting started.
Well, 9 o'clock is they just woke up probably.
They just woke up, exactly.
Afternoon naps. Is that a well-attended mass usually?
It can be. We just started last week, and I think our opening mass had 80 students.
Wow.
It's neat to see 80 students
That's
there
pretty good,
at like 9 p.m.
Yep.
And they're just getting started. So it's a beautiful thing. The night mass we'll start confessions and adoration at 7:30. We'll have mass at 8:45. And then we'll come back and we'll pray night prayer. Beautiful. It's like 3 hours of prayer and worship and getting ourselves right with the Lord. And what an amazing experience to see that. I mean, I really am impressed by their faith in so many ways. So it's a delightful privilege to see our very young students, to see them growing and learning from our elementary experience. I love to be able to still participate with the Lansing Catholic community. It's fun to show up for their events and to see how that's going, and to connect with former teachers and faculty and staff that I had the privilege of working with. And then to see how some of the students continue right on and come to be Catholic Spartans, and to get to follow them through it's a delight to see this next generation, and especially in a world which has, in so many ways, driven the faith out of the hearts of so many, right? Our world has, turned Catholicism almost into being an anti-good, right? Well, that's bigotry, and that's wrong, and how dare you have values, and well, that's judgmental. And our world has tried to make religion and make God the devil. Ironically, a world that treats freedom as an absolute, freedom to even do evil. Well, so then the devil's good, and God, any sense of restraint, any sense of absolutes or norms or morals, well, that's clearly evil. So good is bad and bad is good, and we're living in that world. So to see the students who buck that trend nowadays, what a glorious thing.
Yeah.
What a glorious thing. And for the students who are still with us, right, of Gen Z, and I'm thinking about like the college students, those who are away from mom and dad and still choose to practice the faith, there's a wonderful sense of traditionalism in there. And I wouldn't say that they're conservative. I wouldn't say Gen Z is a conservative generation per se, but as like we're talking about the chapel, right? Trying to convey the timeless, the eternal. There's something that they are longing for. The reason they are still with the church, because in a world where everything is fluid, hey, you pick your gender day to day. What's your Facebook status? That's your choice. Wake up in the morning and you can change it. Type it in. That's all right. They don't even have a selector box anymore. You just type it in, whatever term you would like to go by today. And to see them hungering and longing for something which is timeless and eternal and beautiful and transcendent and good, that's inspiring.
And that is certainly a sign of hope in the young church today, is that as the world gets crazier, the more that happens, the more young people are looking for some place of stability, some place of real purpose and direction in their life. And in some ways, you could say it's like ideal evangelization grounds.
It is.
Because the alternatives are pretty crazy. So like, well, maybe I will actually give religion a shot. Maybe I will come to Mass and see what they have to offer. And just the peace and the joy of knowing that I have a purpose, that God created me, that it's not just totally up to me to completely determine my entire destiny.
Subjectively make it up as I go along? Yeah.
No, that there is a lot of joy that comes from that, knowing that you're part of a plan and that God he's got an eye on you.
And this generation, just as Father Joe is running the board here today, your generation has more tech savvy and ability to communicate than any generation in human history. Yeah. So if you think about this, in terms of the poisoning of the gospel, yes, it's a remnant. It's getting smaller, right? But it's also going to coalesce. It might be a little bit smaller, but it's going to hit that critical mass that it needs to explode again. And the capacity, the young people, their knowledge of the faith. I mean, I as a Gen Xer growing up post the council, even for being Catholic educated all the way through, it was a tough time. The council wasn't widely, what did the council say? Well, it hasn't been translated. Nobody's read it. So there was a lot of, well, I think this is what the council is saying. I think this is the spirit of the council. There was a lot of confusion. Do we still pray the rosary? Do we still teach these things? Oh, I don't know. There was a lot of confusion for those 70s and 80s students. Nowadays, the dust has settled. No, the council, Vatican II, that was a pastoral council. It wasn't a dogmatic council. We didn't change the faith. We poised ourselves for re-evangelization. We called everybody to holiness. We clarified a lot of things. There is good in that, and now we're just starting so I'm seeing in this generation their formation. Certainly what is available for Catholic media is greater than anything we've ever seen before. There's a lot
like
of
this podcast.
Like this podcast.
It's right here for the consuming of all the Catholics.
Well, I went to the National Eucharistic Congress this summer, and that was such a sign of hope to me. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was it was very much touching, or an example of what you're touching on here, that there is this core within the American church of people that are not even necessarily like super conservative, but it's just that they really take the faith seriously. They really love the Lord, and they want to spread the good news in whatever way they can. And just seeing that on full display with 60,000 people of all ages, all races, it was
when
amazing.
you have Eucharistic adoration with a crowd like that, can you just feel the Spirit in the air?
It's amazing.
Just drops
adoration with 60,000 people with Matt Maher leading worship. Oh, it was golden, like the whole thing. So certainly lots of signs of hope for the church, especially here in the United States. Like the American church, there's a lot of good stuff going on. And what a blessing to be a part of that in our own little way here in Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. And the clergy coming up, I see that with East Lansing always gets the newly ordained, right? That's one of we're a large parish with a lot of opportunities. It's a great place to train because you see everything in 1 year.
Yes.
Anything can see in ministry, you will see year one. And so we do get a lot of the newly ordained. And I am impressed by their faith. I'm impressed by their formation. In so many ways, very inspired by that.
All right, well, we are going way over time, so we should probably...
It's worth it, though, Father. People need to hear
quality.
this.
No, this is great.
Thank you all for listening and putting up with us.
God bless you. You're welcome anytime, Father Gordon. We'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
We didn't even get to my accordion playing. What?
There's so much...
I thought that was Weird Al's was here.
So much more to be said.
The musical episode. We will come back for that.
So I think we're going to skip the Q&A this time since we've gone over, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest at Lansing Catholic. I'm Father Joe.
And I'm Mr. Stolpa.
And I'm Father Gordon. God bless you all.
And we'll see you next time.